Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
We all love happy endings, don't we? I just read a series of books by a popular Christian author and just had to laugh at how the end of each book ended with all the loose ends tied up in an elegant bow. But life's not like that, is it? Our lives have loose ends all over the place. One season flows into another. That's one way we can tell the book of Acts is real life, the way it ends. It doesn't really resolve anything. Paul is in jail, and we don't know what's going to happen to him. Peter and the other disciples have been out of the picture for about half the book, though they played main roles in the first chapters. We just have to wonder why Luke didn't tell us what happened. It's like a cliffhanger with no sequel. The book of Luke is part 1, the book of Acts is part 2, but where's part 3? If we want a few of those loose ends tied up, tradition tells us that Paul got out of prison, had one last big mission trip to Spain, then returned to Rome, was imprisoned a second time, wrote 2 Timothy and possibly a few other letters, and was beheaded. All the other disciples except John were martyred, but John went on to live a long life and write the book of Revelation. But maybe the reason Luke doesn't give us the rest of the story on these guys, as Paul Harvey would say, is because they weren't stars of the show. So think about this. Who is the star of the book of Luke? God the Son, Jesus. Luke tells from eyewitness accounts of Jesus' birth, life, death, and resurrection. The book of Acts is formally named the Acts of the Apostles. But who's the main character throughout the book? God the Holy Spirit. God starts out with a quick summary of the book of Luke and tells how Jesus reminded his disciples of what he'd told them at the end of the book of Luke, that he'd send the Holy Spirit. Then he tells us what the book of Acts is about in Acts 1:8. He said, "You shall receive power when the Holy Spirit has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses to me in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." In chapter 2, the Holy Spirit comes and fills them. Immediately they become his witnesses in Jerusalem. When persecution hits in Acts 8, the Christians scatter and we see the gospel spread to Samaria, Ethiopia, Damascus, and other places. In chapter 10, the first Gentile and his family believe and receive the Holy Spirit. Then, in chapter 13, Barnabas and Saul, later named Paul, are commissioned by the church in Antioch as the first official missionaries. By chapter 16, the gospel spreads to Europe, and then by chapter 28, as Paul reaches Rome, the gospel is there too. So, though it's an awkward place to end the book of Acts in Paul's life, and it seems abrupt to those of us who've really gotten into his story, we have to remember it wasn't about Peter or Paul or any of the other messengers. The Acts of the Apostles may just be a misnomer. It should be called the Acts of the Holy Spirit through the Apostles, because it's really about the unstoppable Holy Spirit and his work. He fulfilled Acts 1:8. Not that he was finished working, but the gospel had reached the heart of the Roman Empire, and it was obvious it wouldn't end there. Come to think of it, all of history is about him. It's not about us as much as we seem to think it is sometimes. Even our lives are part of his story, from beginning to end.
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through his word. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you can find in the description below. Thank you for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.